Welcome to this edition of Tour Confidential on Golf.com, presented by FootJoy, the #1 shoe in golf. I'm Jessica Marksbury, joined today in our New York City studio by Golf.com's Brendan Moeller and Golf Magazine's Cameron Morfitt via Skype. Jordan Spieth is $11.5 million richer this morning after winning both the Tour Championship and the FedEx Cup. And Cameron, the playoffs have just sent the money into the stratosphere, but this is not a trick question. Is that a good or a bad thing for Tour players?
Well, I mean, the money is a fantastic thing for the Tour players. It's never been a better time to be a golfer. I think Jordan Spieth was probably going to get up for the Tour Championship, treat it like a major, no matter what. I think the price tag didn't really matter. He really wanted to win that tournament, and I don't think the money totally changes that. I do think some guys are going to be affected by the exorbitant amount of money, and they're going to do just enough to sort of pad their accounts and get by and live comfortably. But I don't think Jordan Spieth is one of those guys. I don't think Jason Day is one of those guys. And I don't think Rory McIlroy is one of those guys. So I think when you talk about the top three, I don't think they're going to be hugely impacted or disincentivized by that amount of money.
Obviously, all this money is a direct reflection of the health of the Tour. But these guys that are at the upper echelon aren't going to go to some of those lesser events like the Fall Series or the former Fall Series, now events like the Fries.com and Sea Island.
You're right. I don't think the amount of money is really a problem, but I do think the way that it's paid out at the end of the FedEx Cup playoffs is a bit of an issue. Let's take Henrik Stenson and Danny Lee, for example. Both finished tied for second at the Tour Championship. Danny Lee finished 9th in the final point standings. Henrik finished second. Danny Lee won this year. Henrik didn't. Danny Lee played in 20 more events and had more top 10s than Henrik Stenson. But Henrik Stenson somehow wound up second. It's too heavily back-weighted. That second place finish for Stenson paid out $3 million, while Danny Lee won $550,000. Certainly that's nothing to sneeze at, but for there to be that big of a discrepancy between second and 9, when arguably the 9th place finisher had a bigger year, I think that's the real issue.
Cameron, critics would say that these guys that are earning all this money are becoming kind of a lazy class of professionals that don't really need to win because they can make millions of dollars a year with top 5s, top 10s, top 25s. What do you think about that?
Well, I disagree. When you talk about Jordan Spieth or you talk about Jason Day or even McIlroy, you can see it in these guys' eyes. They really burn to win, Spieth especially, but also Day. I mean, you really saw Day, the fire that he had this year to get over the hump and win a major. There are going to be some guys who are going to be somewhat disincentivized to really, really try to become great. But those are not the guys that were going to be great in the first place. I think you've got to be an elite athlete, you've got to have a motor and a drive beyond anything that's out there. And that's why Spieth got in this position. That's why Day got in this position. And I think you're going to see McIlroy come back next year. Cam
has a great point. And of course, these guys are independent contractors. All the money they make is directly related to their performance on the golf course.
That's fair. I mean, I can't really fault the Tour at that point. They've incentivized these guys to play more events, which is really the way it should work. But it takes away from tournaments like Riviera or Bay Hill or Doral, other events that are typically big on the calendar, which if you win those, you still need to play well in the playoffs at the end of the year to finish top 10 or really to have a chance at winning. So while it does incentivize guys to play more events and to play more often, the events that they have to play aren't the right ones.
Well, as Cameron said, it's good to be a Tour player right now, but it's even better to be Jordan Spieth, I think. So Brendan and Cam, thank you so much for your time and insight. And thank you all for joining us here on Tour Confidential on Golf.com, presented by FootJoy, the #1 shoe in golf. We'll see you right back here next week.